in typical Taylor fashion, I said that I wanted to start posting on Sundays, so that way I had the whole week to film and everything, and it's Saturday. So I'm gonna bring you along for our reset. Ooh, hopefully this one will take a nap on our way because we gotta go to Costco. Yeah. And then restock the house before we have family come over. But then the other thing I wanted to talk about was answering this question that I've been getting on TikTok a lot of how we got started homeschooling. So when I have some downtime and everyone goes down for a nap, then I will have a sit down chat about that too. But that's basically what this is gonna be all about. Kind of bringing you along for daily life and then having that conversation as well. I think it's gonna be good. So I've gotten two questions very similar of how did we as a family start our journey homeschooling, and then other people asking how do I, as speaking for themselves, get started homeschooling my kids. And so what I want to do today is really address both questions in a different way than you would probably expect. I want to share my personal experience, and I want that to be everything that I share on this platform, on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm not the type of person that wants to tell you what to do with your life. I think that that's part of the reason why people are choosing to homeschool now, because we're sick of other people telling us what's best for our kids. And I mean, and there's hundreds of other reasons, but I think that that's a big one that I hear from a lot of people. I understand the term influencer really is to influence people, but I don't want to be that. I feel like in a world of influencers trying to make money, and don't get me wrong, I make commission off of, you know, certain products that I sell. I have my own Etsy shop and everything. We're all trying to survive. But I think one thing that's really important actually doesn't really fall on the influencers, it falls on us as the people, is to make sure that we are doing our own research. It's okay to get information and insight from people, but what I want to do in this space is to encourage you, to inform you, and then to push you to continue that exploration and that desire to seek information for yourself, so that you can make a decision with what you know of what you've collected from other people, and then taken that back to your corner and decided this is what I believe is best for my children. I don't ever want to be the type of person that's like, you need to buy this curriculum, these resources, these tools, and then you will be successful, because I don't think that's the case. There's a lot of people that have made snarky comments about, you know, how organized my space is and how it doesn't need to be like that. And they're not wrong. It's not, you know, delivered in a kind way, but they're not wrong. It doesn't need to look like this. When I first got started, one of my best friends now had, and still has, this homeschool setup that is beautiful, and her and I related so much because we are like almost neurotic about our organization. And for me, I know that that's partial like childhood issues and everything that I have to unpack, but the other part of it is like she has ADHD, and so like we function better and we serve our kids well when we're working in a clean space. So it's up to you, you know, like if you work better with just having very minimal things and your kids work better that way, then like by all means. But again, it goes back to, you have to know yourself, you have to know your kids, you have to be informed on certain things like state laws and what the requirements are that you have to meet, and then you make that decision of what's best for you. So with all of that said, I just want to preface that to say I'm going to share my experiences. I can give you insight of things, of kind of directions for you to go, but I'm never going to tell you like you have to have these things when it comes to homeschooling. It's always going to be prefaced with like, these are things that we've bought and have been helpful and useful for us. If you want to check it out, here's the link. So I just want to be transparent in that way, because I feel like there's a lot of people who get really defensive about homeschooling, thinking that people are trying to sell them on stuff, and understandably so. There's small shops that are, you know, directed towards homeschooling families too, and they're trying to make money and make a living and everything, so of course they're going to push that. But I've even worked for certain companies that like their things aren't essential. They're not necessities. You didn't need to buy them. And I tried even while I was working with certain companies to make sure that it was something of just like showing it in play form more than education settings with the kids, because that's what it was. That's how we implement it into our routines. It's coloring pages, it's, you know, sensory play. It's all play. It's not necessities for when it comes to teaching your kids. So I hope that makes sense. But now that we've got that all cleared up, let's dive into the actual question of how we got started. Also, side note, does anyone else go grocery shopping and then like order takeout and stuff when they come home? Because we went to Trader Joe's, Target, and Costco this morning to go grocery shopping. And we came home with the Costco pizza, and I grabbed one of these while we were at Target because I knew I was gonna be hungry in between lunch and dinner and unpacking and putting everything away. To be completely honest, because everyone's like, oh my gosh, your homeschool space is so clean. That's the only thing clean in my house right now. Like, all the perishables are put away, but everything that's dry and safe to be out on the counter until I'm done filming this is gonna sit over there for right now. So just a little insight into my life. It's not all that it seems to be. Life's about balance. But I will say the one thing that I did skip in Costco that I really wanted was the whole like rack of Dr. Peppers. I'm trying to cut that, or at least cut back. So that's a healthy decision that I made. Again, this is real life, you guys. All right, so let's dive into the question of how did we get started homeschooling. So just before Beckham was preschool age, when he was about, I'd say like 3-ish, we had agreed that we would take him to my aunt's daycare because she ran a daycare from home. She had, you know, not too many kids, so it wasn't overwhelming for her, and she definitely had the space to take him on. And that way he got out of the house and he got a break, and then I didn't have him on my hands. So that way I could go and run the errands that I needed to. So probably after like a couple months of him being at my aunt's, my mom caught wind of it and absolutely like hated the idea of him being there, and immediately was like, I pulled some strings and I got him an in for the wait list for this private school, but the wait list is never actually like a wait list, you'll be in like that. And so we were kind of like, okay, I don't like conflict, and I have never had a good relationship with my mom in my whole entire life, so I definitely didn't want to pick a fight with her. And so I kind of was just like, okay, like we'll look into it. And so we ended up sending him. Now granted, my younger siblings had gone to this private school and it seemed like they had a pretty decent time there. It's obviously very different from preschool, but we interviewed there and they liked us and we seemed to like them, but I had always still had that idea of homeschooling in the back of my mind. And so he went, I kind of caved, but I had told my husband, like, I still want to do this. And so the agreement that we made was like, you look into what you can, and like, it's not like you can't teach him. He's only there half a day, and he's only there, I think he was going 3 times a week. And I had my daughter, and so he was like, you know, you can work on things with her even while he's at school. Like when the kids grow up and go to school, you can at least like homeschool them while they're in that preschool age and stuff. Like you still have these windows of opportunities to pour into them. And so I was like, okay, that's fair, sure. So I ended up creating an Instagram account that was going to be like dedicated to my homeschool journey. And I blocked everyone in my family basically because everyone in my family was completely against it. My mom, being a public school teacher, was absolutely against it. My grandma is just uneducated in that regard and said some really dumb things. And then my brother, out of his ignorance and stupidity, made really rude, degrading, awful comments about it too, because he didn't know better and saw my family do it. And so it just was this whole thing. So I decided to just tune everyone out because I knew what I wanted to do, I knew what I believed in, and I knew that I was going to do this. And so I started following these accounts on Instagram, homeschooling accounts. I found this one mom and I kind of just really like connected. I loved the captions that she was writing. I loved like the aesthetic of everything that she did. It seemed very hands-on. She just seemed like this like perfect homeschool mom. Loved her. And then I started kind of following what she was doing and looking at what she was doing. And I felt the same way a lot of you have expressed in the comment section on my TikTok videos too, of just saying like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, where do I even begin? Because for me, I was like, okay, public school, they all have, you know, the same books and coursework and stuff that they're supposed to do. Is that what it's like for homeschooling? I was ignorant to it too. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I tried to do some research, but you know, we didn't have TikTok and a lot of people that were sharing the beginning stages of these things. And so I kind of had to figure it out for myself. So I ended up looking at a few moms who thankfully had kids around the same age level and saw that they were doing this curriculum from this company. And I was like, okay, I looked into it. They offered a free lesson. I really liked it. It seemed very simple, but very hands-on and easy to teach and all of that stuff. And so I got started on that. And with following a lot of these moms, I picked up some resources. I think Kindergarten Toolkit was my first thing that I grabbed, and it's just flashcards, but they offered so many, and it seemed so simple. And then if you bought the whole kit, it came with like a booklet that had lessons in it for you that were very simple for you to incorporate with your kids, of just letter recognition and sound recognition, all the things. And so I got that, and then I ordered a couple books. The Julia Rothman ones were my first purchases. I absolutely love them. I still use them to this day. My camera's sitting on top of a whole set of the books, so it comes in handy in all different sorts of ways. So that's how we got started. I picked a curriculum, I got some resources from everything that I saw online, and just decided to go for it. I had asked around. My aunt had actually homeschooled my cousins for a little bit of time and asked her, like, is there anything I'm gonna get in trouble for not doing? You know, like, he seems so little. And she was like, nope, like, it's not really as intense as it seems. Like, you don't have to report anything until a certain age. Like, you're good, just kind of explore. You know, the best thing that a kid can have is the safe space of his home and his mom to pour into him. He's not gonna get the same attention and care and nurturing from a teacher at school that has to manage 15 of them as he would from one-on-one at home. And so I was like, okay, cool, just what I needed to hear. So I was doing a lot of that with my daughter while he was at school, and, you know, working on colors and shapes and all that stuff with her, and then working on that stuff with him when we would pick him up and after he would take his naps. And then the pandemic hit. And so in the midst of all of that, I had decided, you know what, I am pregnant with my third, and we weren't sure what was happening. And I kind of came to Sammy and was like, I'm doing this. I'm pulling him, and I'm gonna do this. And it wasn't like as exciting as it should have been, because I didn't really have the respect to say, you know, what do you think about this? Can we talk about this? I kind of just was like, whether you like it or not, I'm doing this. And looking back, I wish that we were on the same page about it. Thankfully, I did it. And I said, you know, we can agree that I'll just do it for a year, and then if it's really that bad, then we can send him back for kindergarten. And that's what we did. I kept him home for pre-K, and it was amazing. But because everything was shut down and I couldn't get him the socializing aspect of it, because no one wanted to meet up and groups were canceled, the wild and free community wasn't meeting anymore, I had no options. And we could see that he was starting to become, you know, more kept to himself and not his bubbly, bright self anymore. And so we sent him back to kindergarten at the private school. Thankfully, they took us back, and we felt like, oh, what a blessing. And I homeschooled my daughter, and I found this curriculum, and it was okay. It was a lot of prep work that was put on me to do beforehand, and it just was so much that it got overwhelming. So we just basically like played and did more hands-on learning and practiced, like, oh, what color is this? And count the apples, and really relaxing stuff, because she was preschool age. It didn't need to be as like structured as I was trying to make it, but that's all I knew. And so after that, he was like halfway through kindergarten, and I was pregnant with our fourth, and he hated it. And it was heartbreaking, because by the time that we got halfway through the year, I had to throw him over my shoulder, massively pregnant, walking him to class, kicking and screaming, because he wanted to be home. And it ripped my heart out. But we also had a payment plan, and we were committed to it. And I told our couples therapist and Sammy that I promised that we would give it a full year. And thankfully, by the end of it, before the end of the year, he came to me and was like, I don't think this is working for him. So I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, cool, you know? I was ready to take on the responsibility. I wanted to do this. And so as soon as he graduated from kindergarten, we told him, you're staying home with us next year. You don't have to go back. And I've never looked back. And I don't think he has either. Really, at the end of the day, like, we've now over time created so much community and found so many different like mom groups and park play dates and all that stuff, that it's just turned into something so amazing. So with that said, that's kind of the like story of it all. But when it comes to like logistically, okay, Tay, what did you do? I want to go through some of the things that I did and some of the things that I wish I knew. So the first thing that I would say to do to get started that I was not aware of is to go to HSLDA, I think it's .com or .org. I'll put the address here and then I'll also put it in the description. But you're gonna go there and then it's gonna give you an option to find your state, and then you'll be able to access the like state laws and requirements that you have to meet for homeschooling your little ones. For us, I didn't have to do anything until he turned 7. And I don't have to report anything for the other ones until they turn 7. So it's kind of really relaxed. I know that some states are a little bit more strict, some are a little bit even more relaxed than California, but go there first so you know what you're messing with. Next, I took child development classes when I was in community college, so I was a little bit aware of this, as well as like parenting styles and all of that stuff, but I didn't take the time to like really assess my kids with their learning styles, but I would absolutely get an idea of how your kids learn. For me, it wasn't a full-on assessment, it's just spending time with them and watching them, and I realized that they are very hands-on. They're visual learners, they're hands-on learners. I'm the same way. Sammy's just kind of like ridiculously smart in all aspects, so his learning style is kind of just like anything you throw at him, he can, you know, take in well. For me, I was hands-on, that's why I didn't do well in school either, because they didn't have the time to make sure everything was an experiment for me to learn that way. So, learn your kids' learning styles. Next thing, it's kind of up to you. It depends on like how you work, what works best for you. I was not aware of the different types of homeschool styles. I still don't fully understand all of them, and for me, I'm never going to take the time to really unpack all of them because I feel like I didn't do it back then, and I'm doing really well not knowing what bubble I fit into. Now, if you are one of those people that would probably feel a little bit more comfortable of identifying with a specific style, I would definitely look into it. You've got Montessori, you've got Charlotte Mason, you've got unschooling, you've got road schooling. Like, there's tons of different things out there for you to dissect and dive into. And so if that's something that seems interesting to you, or you feel like you might be more comfortable if you select a style of homeschooling that you want to implement with your kids, then by all means. Like, what you can do too is you can go to Instagram, and normally if you type in whatever style you're looking for, there's a lot of other parents and small shops that identify with a specific type that will put that in their name. So for SEO purposes, if you're looking for that, I would absolutely recommend looking up the people. If you're looking for Montessori, I would type in Montessori, and it'll give you a list of accounts that have Montessori in their name. And if they know enough to do that, then they probably have a lot of resources because they're trying to let you find them through that way. So I would look into that. And then for me, the biggest thing that I really learned the hard way was that I needed to foster a love for learning first. It was making sure that they enjoyed coming to this space in our home and they are excited about sitting down and learning. And then the next thing is to understand that things that are promoting that excitement of play, whether it's Play-Doh or watercolors or, you know, coloring sheets and different types of activities and stuff like that, that really is what the majority of the stuff in here is. I've got workbooks, I've got curriculum, I have all that stuff, but the majority is all of our sensory play. It's all of our Play-Doh, it's all of our painting, it's all of our crafts and arts and stuff like that, because that is what they enjoy doing. One of the things that I feel like a lot of people misunderstand when it comes to homeschooling is actually it doesn't take as much time as it seems like they do. We're used to our kids being dropped off and spending the majority of their days at school. They're not teaching them that whole time, it's busy work. And for my kids, we spend probably a total, that is with snack breaks and potty breaks and stretching and, you know, all the things, the interruptions and everything in between, our block of homeschooling is probably up to 2 hours. But when you actually look at the math and the language arts, how much time you spend on it, it's about 15 minutes per lesson per child. It's not that much. And so what I really want to encourage people is to just be able to like take that deep breath in and let it out, knowing that you don't have to measure up to these standards that family members, friends, judgmental people from high school, or whoever you're concerned with have about you, because you know what's best for your little ones. You're doing what's best for your little ones, and you're willing to make the adjustments so that they can have the best life. And that's all that matters. So when it comes to starting homeschool, it's not as difficult as it seems. It can be intimidating, but one of the biggest things I have received from all of this is community. I've met so many incredible people on TikTok, on Instagram, all over the US, all over the world. I have friends in Canada. I have one of my best friends is in New Jersey. I've met another mom on TikTok that's in Florida. I love all of them so deeply. And I've connected with so many other ones here in California, in Orange County, that are interested in homeschooling when their kids get older. I have other ones who are trying to create that community right now while they're little and not really having to worry about the school aspect because they're still like preschool age. And they're doing so much. And I think that the sooner that we can make that community and feel safe to ask questions and stuff, the better off we're gonna be. So when it comes to starting, it doesn't actually take all that much. It just takes a mom that's willing to put in the effort, to take the time and do the research. So that's what I want to just leave you with today. Take the time to do the research for yourself and pay attention to your kids. The rest will fall into place. We can talk about curriculum and resources and tools and all that stuff another time, but I really wanted the focus of this chat today to just be something to encourage you to breathe. Breathe first before you do anything else. Do a little bit of the research and the things that I talked about and take that time to sit on it. Really be able to just be in the presence of your kids, pay attention to who they are because they're each individual people too. My oldest does not learn the same way that my daughter does, and she doesn't learn the same way that my 3-year-old does. And Lord knows that my 1-year-old probably won't have the same learning style as the rest of them, and that's okay. We are absolutely capable of adapting, and we can do this. You can do this. So with that said, I love you. If you have any questions, please feel free. Drop them in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram, whatever you need. I'm here to try and help in any way that I can. I hope that this helps, and I will see you guys next week.